Welcome back. Is it real? Is it virtual? We're about to find out. We are exploring the latest in tech this Thursday. And next, we are going to be delving into an insightful conversation with one of our favorites, Hinds, who is, of course, a professional gamer and tech enthusiast. In fact, that's his calling. And we're going to chat about the future of virtual reality and its potential impact on our lives, I suppose, in the professional space and, of course, within entertainment. Thanks for stepping outside of the kitchen for just a moment. This is...
For information, we're in the kitchen.
Yeah, you
in
can
the virtual world.
It's gourmet grub, okay, and he's going to be preparing me some virtual breakfast this morning. This does kind of beg the question, when you see us outside of just a normal gaming environment,
yes.
You're not fighting something, you're just making us breakfast, you're collecting orders, you are doing something that feels kind of like a job. This being said, where do you see the future of VR tech going?
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's a broad subject. I think a lot of VR is, right now, it's kind of like what Apple are doing, right? Like people are seeing it as this augmented reality experience, but it's a very it's very expensive to get into. And from an entertainment perspective, it's lots of fun, but I'm a little bit concerned about its exclusivity. It's a very, solo experience. I play a lot of games, and I find that games where I'm sitting at my computer, even with my headphones on, in a family context, is already a very invasive experience.
It's kind of pulling you out of that space. Okay.
So,
that's like a personal preference. I think there are going to be people who are going to want to immerse themselves completely. The notion of, and we've already seen VR being used in training and kind of racking up work hours and critical information, getting the right kind of nuances in a job. This can have applications in that space where it could potentially save costs because you can plug everyone into the same source. How do you see this playing out in the professional arena?
Yeah, I think that's really probably one of the most exciting things. It's like the benefit of VR is that it's like you said, it's all-consuming. It's immersive in a way that we've never experienced before. So stuff like D&D would be very exciting, right? Where you could create these worlds. But at the end of the day, like simulations or experiences which we couldn't experience beforehand are probably the most important. And from a business perspective, having people be able to try out for a job in a virtual environment, maybe a dangerous job, where they're not risking anybody else's life or their own life by doing this and getting to experience what it might feel like. And also empathetic experiences, putting yourself in the shoes of people that you wouldn't, and life experiences that you wouldn't normally feel in an everyday world is very exciting. So I think those kinds of experiences are awesome. And I think those are the biggest applications for VR.
I'm just thinking, if you're like kind of selling a commercial property and you need someone living in New York to do a walkthrough of your new high-rise building in Cape Town, there's opportunities to be able to do things like
surgery. There's another application as well.
I completely get that. So what's standing in the way then? If you feel like we haven't quite got there yet with this technology, what's the next evolution?
I think that's a very loaded question. I think cost for a lot of people is very expensive. I think a lot of people don't know what VR is like. I remember the first time I tried VR, it was mind-blowing.
It's a bit unnerving, eh?
I was in a queue at Gamescom, and I just remember this moment where I was driving a car, like it was a racing simulator, and somebody was like, just turn around. And I got to spin around, and I could see the whole track. And I just screamed, because I was like, there's no way that this feels as real as it does. I'm in another place.
In another realm, yeah.
And like a lot of people don't know what that feels. I can explain it to you, but until you've tried it, it's very hard to experience it. So there's a huge gap between like the experience of VR, people know of it, and people see what it looks like in Tron or in Ready Player One, and that's not really the real world experience of VR. VR is a completely different thing. And to have your limbs and arms and eyes behind something else is I think the biggest like selling point for it. But then also there's just so much competition in the space that it's hard to get in, and there's different kinds of experiences that aren't as equal as others, right? There's some headsets that aren't as good. So you try VR and you go like, that's trash. Or some games that just don't play very well.
I see what you're saying, because if you look at where gaming has gone at the moment, you're pretty much guaranteed to get a premium experience all the time now. That baseline has risen so high. Thank you for, are you going to cook that flour on the grill? Nope.
Okay, I don't know what I've done there. there. But
it's a
yeah,
little bit-
so it's very cool. It's a very cool experience, and I highly recommend if you have the opportunity. I'm cooking a flower. Do you want a
Thank you,
flower
man.
for breakfast?
Yeah, I love a nice daisy for breakfast. Now you're going to melt the pot. Okay, so you're
probably
not quite there yet from a safety perspective, but hey, it's an exciting kitchen, dude. I'll come and watch you cook anytime you want. Of course, we're going to be introduced to an incredible way of experiencing a moment in history that obviously has quite an important arc within the South African narrative in terms of District 6. There is an opportunity to take young people who might never have experienced that world, that notion, that idea right into it.
Exactly,
Which is powerful,
I'm so excited for this next bit. What you are going to see is why I think VR is so powerful, and the stories that came out of that are just, well, how do you take me seriously while my headset is just taking
I
out
know.
my eye? Okay.
You can talk while you cook, I don't mind.
Okay.
That's kind of how we do it in this kitchen
Oh, this
anyway.
thing has been cooking the whole time in another world.
Did you cooked your flask? Okay, good job. Good job.
Okay, this is how you sort it out,
Safety
right?
first. Well,
But yeah, it's very cool.
You passed the first test, the first safety test in the kitchen. Well done.
Just, can I put this on the fire?
What would you say is the best kind of game to play in the VR realm? Where does it really sing or come to bear?
I think racing titles are very cool because you lock down in a location. Anything where you're sitting in a single space. Like, this is a great game as well. This is Job Simulator. We're sitting in a very confined environment, so I can sit down and play the game.
You can control it, yeah.
Or what happens in a small space. But the most impactful experiences are the ones where it takes you out of the world that you're currently in and gets you to experience something that you will never be able to experience.
In a
Because
real
that's the
world,
difference
yeah.
between a traditional game. Like, you get to have the challenge of, like these hard shooters or team-based shooters or whatever the case is. But VR allows you to be in the physical shoes and eyes
space,
of
yeah.
somebody else that you have never lived in. And I think that's where VR is really powerful. There's the
Can
famous
be something
example, it's so
special, yeah.
stupid, but the famous example is sitting on the toilet and then putting your VR headset on, and all of a sudden you're on the Himalayas mountains. And every time you go to the toilet, you can be on the Himalaya mountains. Like, that's a silly example.
But yeah, I'm telling you right now, 2% of the population has gone, oh, really? I need VR. That 2%, that magical
this is on the
2%.
fire.
I know, buddy, I think we need to get you out of the virtual kitchen before you start a virtual fire. I absolutely love it. For me, the training applications, the teaching, the learning, how you can kind of level that playing field if you have the right access to this kind of technology. But I have a feeling it's still got a way to go before it really
cooking an
embraces
apple.
its potential. But VR is here to stay clearly. Let us know if you have any perspectives, what you enjoy playing. Maybe give us a hookup in terms of the best game possible. And hopefully we won't burn this studio
burnt
down
this apple.
virtually in the meantime.
Oh, where's that fire hydrant?